So we'll show you like a quick demo basically that we've done in Snowflake using, so it's a chatbot. We have some synthetic data related to deposit accounts and also mortgage loan applications coming from unstructured data, basically PDF for the mortgage part, and the deposit account, which is structured basically in a table in Snowflake. And so we'll show you like how to use Cortex Analyst, which is basically an API offering by Snowflake to ask questions and transform those questions from natural language into SQL to query a database live and outputting the result. So quickly, like in terms of how it goes in terms of architecture, I'll talk about the security part after I show you the demo. But basically, like we have an application, and the application, like a chat application, it's actually in Snowflake, deployed in Snowflake. So everything is in Snowflake. You ask a question, and the question goes to the Cortex Analytics system, which is in Snowflake also. Then here there is a question understanding, enriching that question with some context. We have some what we call semantic model, which are basically our configurations, information related to bridge the gap between the technical tables and the business side. So, for example, we also those cases where we have some tables with some weird names, ununderstandable, but so what does map to the business layer, and with some synonyms, and what are all the names. So we enrich those questions, then we translate that into SQL so that we can run that on the data that is in Snowflake, structure on unstructured, and then we show the answer. And then with that answer, we can then print it to the user, and so on. So everything is running on Snowflake. I want to mention here that so we have here the application that is in Snowflake, but the UI UX, it can be anything. So here it's a chat application, but it can be a bot that is embedded in your Slack or in your Teams, like as a conversation that you can have. It can be anything. It can be on a website. It can be integrated with an existing application that you have. So all the logic happens in Snowflake, but then to show that information, you can show it anywhere.
I just want to piggyback on that, right? So the fact that this offering is a REST API by Snowflake, so anything that is able to consume that, right, can be used as your interface to asking questions to the database. So again, we're using Streamlit as a prototype, kind of standing up, but as Jeremie mentioned, certainly applicable for teams. Think of the opportunity to have executive stakeholders ask questions without having to launch a report, without having to launch a dashboard, right? So this is where again, your tool of choice, bringing that convenience from a REST API consumption standpoint, gives you a lot of flexibility going forward. Thanks, Jeremie.
Exactly, and so keep in mind that API that we're using right now, so Snowflake Cortex Analytics, is not general availability, so it's a bit slow, and so it's not yet production ready. So I'm going to show you, like for example, if we ask hello, this system, it's not like a chat that maybe you use ChatGPT where you can ask any question. Here you will see that the system is done to actually answer related to the data and to the information you put into semantic model. You can just ask, what is the weather, right? So you could do an application like that using another API that is not Snowflake, which can, so basically to allow those kind of questions. But so here is like, we wouldn't want the user to answer, like the system to answer questions related to our data. So for example, if I ask like, what is the total current balance as of the most recent snapshot date, we are currently in the deposit mode. So the system, the question will be sent to the system. The system will kind of understand and map that based on our semantic layer, which is like the list of the table he has access, the information, what are the business information related to those, and basically generate a SQL query and reply with the value. So here you can see that the system kind of rephrase the question with some with its understanding. So yeah, then over the entire available time period, for example. We can see the query being generated, and the table, so it can be anything. You can query, it can be row tables, but it can be like, especially, it's interesting that it could be like, for example, a data warehouse where like the process to feed that data warehouse has been vetted, and like the data has been tested. There is like evaluation done and testing done, so that the data is solid. And so you can have this system on top of it that not only you can consume that data using a dashboard or a report, but with a chatbot. So that the data is gonna be good and is not gonna hallucinate some weird numbers. So that's very important. So for example, for this one, we can see that. So let's ask another question. So what is the total current balance for the region one for the previous year? So we need to understand, what do we mean by previous year? How do I get to the region one? What is the current balance? What are the fields related and everything? So it's the same thing. It's gonna get the question, understand it, enrich it. So it's there is a lot going on. So here, for example, it knows that the previous year we mean 2023. And so we have different product categories and the total current balance for each of those categories. And then here we're just showing the data, but you can imagine you can actually add pretty much anything you want directly, right? This is generated live. So if I change the data like in 1 minute, and then I re-ask the question, I will have like the new data. And you can imagine also on top of that, one thing is that often we think about large language models, in this case, being used to generate only text. But now they are pretty much all, not all, but the powerful ones are multimodal, meaning they can output not only text, but images, audio. So you can also imagine consuming that data with like a 2-minute audio kind of podcast form of your data. You can create, for example, a summary, a description of that, of those questions and answers, then you can kind of listen to that. That's just one use case. For example, let's go to the mortgage. So the mortgage, we have, it's based on unstructured data in PDF that it's all synthetic data, so mortgage application. So we have some borrowers with some asset sources. So we're interested in those asset sources. For example, here we have two asset sources with the institution, the amounts, what type is it? Is it a bank? Is it like a retirement? Is it something like this? So for example, we can ask, what is the, show me the most recent application by submission date. So it will do the same thing. And it knows now, because we changed the semantic model to mortgage, it will go to a different area in our Snowflake database, and it will basically tell us, okay, like we actually have, here are the latest applications. Then we can go and check, okay, like here are those actual application, and then we can ask question on that. For example, this one, we can ask which applicant had American Exchange Bank as an asset source, and what was the asset amount along with the application name. Same thing, the question will be asked, it will go to the semantic model and answer the question. And you can see that we have, for example, American Exchange Bank. So we have it in the mortgage 17, and Eric O with an asset amount of 20,000. So it's actually this one. So we can see mortgage 17. We can even imagine showing directly the source PDF in the application and showing that directly to the user. And you can see the American Exchange Bank in that PDF. Yeah, so that's pretty much the, like, I'm not gonna show like 1,000 questions, but you get the idea, right? So that's one of the, Snowflake is actually integrating a lot of AI and ML systems, and it directly in their offering in Snowflake. So that's one of it. Cortex Analyst it's called. There is also Document AI, what they call it. It's a way to fine-tune a model to understand better the format of your unstructured data. For example, if you have like PDFs with some hand written information, or you want to extract specific part of the PDF, which might be difficult to do, and you want to do it in an automated way. So they have like some tools for that. Document AI, they also have like Cortex Search, which is similar to Cortex Analyst, but it can answer questions based on really written text embedded in PDF or other source of unstructured data. So that's what we wanted to show. I'm going to talk quickly about security here. So in this case, what I've shown you, everything is in Snowflake. The data is in Snowflake. The application is deployed as an active application in Snowflake. It's run in a contained environment within the Snowflake governance boundaries. The models, also the large language model, that there is no data sent to those models. And even if there were, those models are running within Snowflake. So Snowflake itself, they have those Snowpark containers where you can run those models in, and no data is used for training. So it's only for what we call inference, basically like using the model, not retraining. So everything is within these system. And under the hood is using a couple of open source models from Meta and Mistral, which allows Snowflake to use those models themselves without going to an external API vendors like OpenAI or whatever, Amazon or whatever. Do you have any questions?
I do. So at this stage of the game, how educated does an end user need to be with the actual mechanics of the underlying database? And I'll give you an example. If we go back to the deposits where you asked about the product category, our databases can have all kinds of names for it. You know, it's a minor code, it's a major code, it's a product code, it's a category code. Does that end user need to know specifically what the field names are, or is there some type of metadata that we're managing to help get people to answers when they don't have that really finite understanding of exactly what field they're looking to pull from?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, and this is exactly what I showed the semantic model here. So this semantic model is basically something like this, where you have so basically here, that's where you map the actual technical details about the database to the business layer. And you can actually put some, for example, sample values, but here you can see synonym. So
Okay.
for example, here in that case, we are linking the field account number, and we are saying, okay, maybe like the user will ask the question about the customer or the client, this map to the account number. And here you can so you can put some example, and you can put some even some custom expression, or you can do pretty much yeah. So you, as you said, so for example, synonym for account what is it, account rep, for example, the field account rep, the synonym might be staff, sellers, representative, right? So that's where like this semantic configuration file will need to be done by someone or a couple of people, a person close to the data and the business, because
Right.
that's what you want, like the business user asking those questions. And so exactly, and you can even ask the system actually, what kind of question can I ask, and it will tell you, like it will give you suggestions, for example.
Thank
So
you.
that's exactly
Seeing this is really helpful.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Tracy, like you'll have the opportunity to curate this, right? So that it basically becomes part of your, change management kind of operational deliverable framework for managing this going forward. So like in that AI data readiness, this is one of those pieces to take into consideration for deploying a product to the business stakeholders for consumption.
Yeah, it's not dissimilar to what we do with member-facing chatbot and how we train responses based on what we're getting for inputs. You just need to have a similar process for your end users.
And usually on those interface, you will see also some thumbs up, thumbs down buttons. So to kind of feed the system like, okay, this was actually a good answer, a bad answer, and then you have someone monitoring those. And so like if the person put a bad answer, why, and to kind of refine the system. And also like you may have like an input box saying, okay, I actually asked something like this, but I meant this, so that you want someone to go to the semantic layer and make some adjustments. So that's a kind of you have the flywheel of the improvements, right?
Perfect.
Does the bot have some sort of feedback if it receives ambiguous language in the question, or is there like a reliability score that it'll provide? Like, hey, I'm 50% sure this is right, or hey, this is definitely right.
Here it will tell you if it doesn't know, it will tell you to kind of give more detail. I don't have something in mind here, but it will give you. So if I say give me a list, for example, I can ask just give me a list. So like it shouldn't be a list of what, and I think it will give me some suggestion. It will, yeah. I apologize, so but the question is too vague. So it will tell you, you see, to kind of give more details about what you mean. But no, so you want to have here the like the the confidence level. But I know, like as I say, this is not a general availability yet, and I know that they have a lot of improvement in the pipeline. One of the improvement that we cannot do right now is to have context about the previous messages. So that's something like before I had done a chatbot like this, but using an API, OpenAI API, for example, so not Snowflake. And then in those kind of API, I was able to give the whole context of the conversation. So for example, here I can say, okay, but in the previous message, I asked you about these people having more than 500,000. Give me their names, and it will understand the context. So that's something that's coming. It's in the pipeline. So they have a lot of improvement here, and but that's a good point. Maybe they can actually add like a confidence level about the question. But usually, it will tell you if it's not sure about something. It will tell you to provide more detail.
Yeah, and I'll just add too that with these improvements and the expanding of their offerings, they're also again taking this approach of bring your apps to the data, right? So curating and cultivating a marketplace for providers to come into, especially these frontier large language models and niche models, so that you'll ultimately have, and they already exist in some of these, I think in search, Cortex search, that you can choose which model to apply, right, against your particular data set, your particular question. So like they will get to a point where you can have the ability for it to pick the best model, or you can specifically pick ones that come to Snowflake for a particular use case. Because we're all learning about how some of these models are better for some purposes than others. Again, depending on what the application is and what the use case is. So just another thing to take into consideration, that like with not having to connect an API to a particular large language model, you'll still have the opportunity for those that want to participate in the Snowflake marketplace to leverage those tools going forward.
I have a question about deployment and permissions.
About permission, actually, because, for example, this application, we use the Snowflake native apps framework. And so it leverages all the security that you might already have in place with Snowflake. So here, for example, I'm using a role that I have access to. So it's my user going to that application and running the queries because I have this access to that role. And so it leverages all the role and the security already in place, like also the role-based access control that you might have in place, all the tagging and the so yeah, leverage basically all your already already existing security in place. So you said security, and there was something else.
For deployment. So if we were to deploy this for our institution, is it like a public link, or would we have to have like everyone with a Snowflake login with the chatbot role? Is that how you would deploy this app for the institution?
So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if you saw. So like this is deployed as a native application. So and you have a marketplace. So then, for example, this demo, we directly deployed it into our, as you can see, it's a development mode. But you could deploy that. So if it was available, you could deploy that through the marketplace. You could find that application through the marketplace, install it into your environment, configure it related, so the configuration related to the semantic models, and then use it. So this is the native app that allows that. So having also the marketplace. So it's basically like the same. It's like the package as an application that you can get from the marketplace.
I see. Thank you.
But as I said before, like you don't necessarily have to use that. If you want, for example, if you already have like, I don't know, like an intranet with an interface that you want to reuse, you can actually build a custom application on your already existing system or directly in Teams or Slack as a bot and reuse the backend of this to send requests to Snowflake. So it depends. The UI and the way you consume it, it's flexible. Here we just did everything in Snowflake for the demo, but is as you wish. Yeah, that's it for me. So, and something to keep in mind is I mentioned it in the slides, but the multimodality of those systems now. So like keep not only consuming information as text, but also like the ability, especially when you think about use cases, those models are very strong now to understand images. When I say images, it can be also like PDFs, like handwritten PDFs or signature on a PDF. It can be everything visual. So those systems are very strong to understand and analyze those. And audio also, like it can be, so you can have like use cases related to customer support and understanding sentiment of a call, for example, of transcript or so there are a lot of different use cases. So important to keep in mind not only the text modality, but also like the other images and audio modalities that there are a lot more and more use cases in using those.
Thank you so much, Jeremie. If nobody has any more questions, if you wouldn't mind joining me in the main room for a moment, and we can vote on the next topic area for the next Center of Excellence, which we'll try to have at the beginning of next year. So yeah, I will see you. You can leave the room with the little icon in the bottom toolbar on the right.
There's Jeremie. Hello.
Hi, guys. So we're voting for the next topic area in the other room right now. I don't want to interrupt anyone, but if anybody had an opinion on whether they would like to, what they'd like to talk about in 2025, then that's what we're doing. And then I also wanted to say, Jared, we did a blind draw for the next beneficiary, and it's Hanscom Federal Credit Union. So
Oh, very nice.
Thanks.
So yeah, if you guys want to wrap up and come vote, then we'll close it out. But thanks a lot for coming. And you might get booted out of the Zoom room altogether and just enter back in. But okay,
All
thanks,
right.
guys. Sorry to interrupt.
Fair enough. All good. We were just closing.